All right, let's talk about the one thing that's basically the holy grail for any startup: product market fit. It is the hidden engine behind every single legendary success story. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain and really figure out what it is, how you know when you're getting close, and most importantly, the actual strategic path to finding it. So let's start with the big one, right? The billion-dollar question. What is that secret ingredient? What really separates the startups that just fizzle out from the ones that become absolute legends in their industry? Well, the answer, as you might have guessed, is product market fit. The term itself was actually coined by the venture capitalist Mark Andreessen, and his definition is, it's pretty simple but really elegant. Just think of it like a three-part formula. You're in a good market, you have a good product, and that product perfectly satisfies what that market needs.
Okay, so if Andreessen's definition is the theory, this is the feeling. This is what it feels like in your gut. It's that moment when the market is literally pulling the product out of your hands. You've got customers lining up, practically begging to buy, and you can barely, just barely, keep up with the demand. That's the feeling.
But here's the thing. While that feeling is pretty universal, getting there is really different depending on who you're selling to. For a consumer product like, say, Netflix, it's one thing. But for B2B companies, it is a whole different ballgame. And to really get why, we need to break B2B fit down into three distinct layers.
So layer one is user fit. This is the most personal level. We're talking about the individual employee, the designer, the engineer, the salesperson on the ground. Do they actually love using your tool? Does it make their job genuinely easier, save them a ton of time, or help them hit their personal goals? You got to nail this first, because without it, you've got nothing.
Okay, next up is economic fit. Look, happy users are great. They're essential. But the business case has to be rock solid. The decision makers, the ones signing the checks, they need to see a clear return on their investment. Is your $1,000 a month software saving or making them more than $1,000 a month? The math just has to add up. No way around it. And finally, we have organizational fit. Your product can't just live on an island by itself. It has to integrate smoothly, seamlessly with the company's existing systems, their workflows, and their culture. Does it play well with all their other software? Does it actually make teams work better together, or does it just create more headaches and friction? Figma is just the perfect example of nailing all three of these. At the user level, designers absolutely loved it. It was way better than what they had. Economically, companies saved a fortune on clunky, expensive software licenses, and organizationally, its collaborative features literally brought designers and engineers together in a way that just wasn't possible before. That is a perfect trifecta. So how do you actually know if you're on the right track? Well, product market fit isn't just a switch you flip one day. It's more like a spectrum. And the good news is there are some really clear signals, both the soft, qualitative stuff and the hard, quantitative data that tell you when you're getting warmer.
These signals really break down into two key categories. You've got the feeling and you've got the facts. On one side, you have these qualitative clues, like people championing your product for free. On the other side, you have the hard data, rising retention rates, falling acquisition costs. And here's the key. You absolutely need both to be truly confident you're there.
Let's talk numbers. Here's one of the most powerful metrics you can watch. For B2B software, a net revenue retention, or NRR, of over 120% is a massive, massive signal. It means that even after you account for the customers who leave, your revenue from your existing customers is still growing. They're not just sticking around, they're actually buying more. Just look at Datadog's 130% NRR. That's what it looks like. Here's another killer metric, this one from the email app Superhuman. You ask your users one simple question. How would you feel if you could no longer use our product? If 40% or more of them answer very disappointed, you have very likely hit product market fit with that group of people. It's just a beautifully simple way to actually quantify how much your users love you. But, of all the signals, this might be the most powerful one. Some people call it the Nosferatu effect. Think about it. When you see a great movie, you can't help but tell everyone you know to go see it. Nobody's paying you, you just do it because you want to share something great. When your users start doing that for your software, that's when you know you've created something truly special. Okay, so we know what PMF feels like, and we know how to spot the signals. But how do you actually find it? This isn't about getting lucky. It is a methodical process. It's a journey of discovery that sometimes requires knowing when to make a big strategic change, when to pivot. The playbook for this journey is something called the customer development flywheel. First, you discover if a real painful problem even exists out there. Then you validate that your product actually solves it. And only then do you move on to creation and building the company around it. Following these steps in this exact order is absolutely critical. Now, here's a kind of a counterintuitive question for you. We all dread getting negative feedback, right? But is there something that's even more dangerous to a startup than customers being angry? And the answer is yes, indifference. The meh problem, when customers just don't care one way or the other, is so much more dangerous than anger. I mean, anger at least means they care enough about the problem to be frustrated with your solution. Indifference, that means you haven't even registered on their emotional radar. It is a huge, flashing red flag that you might need to pivot. So if you realize you need to pivot, what are your options? Well, broadly speaking, there are 4 main paths you can take. You can keep your product but find a totally new audience for it. You can keep your audience but solve a different, more urgent problem for them. You could transform from just a single product into a platform. Or you could just simply change how you charge for the value you're already providing. This whole journey really requires a shift in mindset. You know, that old concept of a minimum viable product, an MVP, it's not really enough for B2B anymore. You've got to aim higher for a minimum lovable product. This isn't just about having the basic features. It's about creating an experience that your first users are genuinely enthusiastic about, turning them into your first real champions. And this brings us to what might be the most important mindset shift of all. Finding that initial fit. That's not the finish line. Not even close. In fact, it's just the starting pistol. The market is always changing, which means the search for product market fit has to be a continuous, ongoing process. The evolution of fit really happens in stages. You start by finding that initial fit with a small core group. Then you have to expand to deliver value to the whole organization. After that, you have to defend your position as competitors inevitably show up, which means deepening your customer insights. And then, when you launch your second product, the whole cycle of renewal just begins all over again. And that right there is the ultimate takeaway. The most successful companies don't see product market fit as some milestone they achieve one time. They treat it as their core, ongoing process. It's a constant journey of listening, adapting, and renewing their alignment with the market. And that is what separates the good companies from the truly legendary ones.